All right, today I am doing something I never thought I'd be doing. That is saying goodbye to my water port because I'm switching to Midnight Forest. So the camper has been completely cleared out. I removed that DIY platform that held my table. I removed the fridge. I removed everything that was on the MOLLE panels because we are rebuilding this entire area. My garage is a current mess of just lumber everywhere as I rebuild it, but I can't finish it until we get this Midnight Forest water tank mounted up because I want to make sure that whatever I build clears this and I can still get to the ports easily and fill it up easily without having to remove it. It's a big tank and I don't want to have to remove this in and out of the vehicle too many times. Now, if you watch my channel with any sort of consistency, then you'll know about a month or so ago, I did a whole video on pressurizing this water port. And honestly, to this day, I still think that was one of the best DIY projects I've done. It worked really well, but I had gone on a couple of trips since that time, and during those trips there were definitely some limitations on this particular water port tank itself. Now don't get me wrong, I've always loved water port and have been loyal to them, and they've been supportive of this channel. I ran it on the Jeep, I ran it on the 4Runner, but for this particular build there's just some limitations that makes me have to switch out. When I was running it on the Jeep and the 4Runner, it was usually on the outside and it wasn't an issue. It was out of the way, although it did kind of stick out the sides a little bit. But on the inside of the camper, I mean, you're talking about, yeah, 8.5 to 9 inches. That's 8 to 9 inches of space that we're losing on the inside of the camper, which after we put the cabinets and everything, every inch of this build counts. There's not really space on the outside of the camper for me to mount a water port. It's all windows on both sides and this kind of curves in like this. There's nowhere to put it there, and I can't put it on the T-tracks above because then the windows won't open. And then towards the front I have awnings. Plus, that'll just make this way too high, especially for my wife to reach. Now I can put it somewhere else on the inside of the camper, but here is the issue that I've had with water port, in that there really only is one port that goes out, which is right here. So this has to be oriented in a way where the hose will go in the direction that you want it. Like, it would have been cool to put it on this side, but I would have needed that hose to be on this side so it can go out that window. I could put this in the back, but I kind of want the hose to go out this window because that's the wet side, which is why I had it over here. But I can't put it this way because now it's all the way over here and the hose just won't reach. And speaking of the hose, but I don't like this coiled thing because this creates a lot of tension. And there have been times where this was clicked on and it wasn't clicked on as tightly as I thought it was. I went and did this and the tension pulled the hose away and water started coming out into my camper. And I had to scramble to get this little nozzle right here, turn it off so that it doesn't go into any of the electricals that I had back here. And then as far as the fill, there's only one fill. It's right here. The one thing that I do like about the water port is it does have this pump. So if you don't have any way of pressurizing this thing, you can just pump it up, but that does get a little bit of a pain. And speaking of pressurizing, you do have to figure out a way to pressurize this thing so you can get actual water or get some sort of electric pump like the Midnight Forest one has. But I'm actually not getting rid of this thing. I'm gonna keep it for whenever we go ground tent camping, like when we go with the scouts or when we go to a place where we can't bring our camper with us. This is a great portable water solution that holds 4 gallons, and I can have water to wash dishes and things when we don't have the camper nearby. But this is why I like the Midnight Forest one. This thing is jam-packed with features. Number one, much thinner profile, plus 8-gallon capacity. That's twice what I was getting with the water port. This will just allow us to wash more dishes and take more showers. But here's why I really like this thing. This thing has so many different options with filling it up and spraying the water out. Filling it up, if you decide to mount this vertically, you can fill up right here. But if you decide to put this on your roof rack and put it horizontally, you can fill up right here. And here's what's cool if you do put it on your roof rack. Right here is rain collection. If you're at camp and it starts to rain, take the cap off and let the rain fill this back up, and now you have basically reusable water that you can use later. I think that's cool that you can do that. And as far as spraying the water out, you have a port on both sides. So you can have the water coming out of this port on this side, or you can have the water coming out of this port on this side. Gives you so many options. Wherever you decide to put this and wherever you decide you want to put the hose, you have that. And speaking of spraying that water out, Midnight Forest made it super simple by just going electric. No need to pressurize your tank, no need to worry if you over pressurized it and now it blows up. Everything is fed electrically. Now there are two kits that you can choose from. There's the Rain Flare kit, which acts kind of like a pressure washer. If you need something that's super strong and you want to release like dirt and mud and things off your shoe or off the vehicle, then go with the Rain Flare kit. This one is the Rain Flux, which is basically more for washing dishes, taking showers, just basic kind of water spraying. You get this little pump right here, and that gets powered by a battery like this. You just have to make sure that this thing is charged up before you go, but that just slides right in there. You just turn it on, and then you also get a charger for it. And if you want to know how to charge it, because I was trying to figure it out, it's right here. And then obviously you get your hoses and your nozzle. Standard nozzle like the one I got with the water port, and then you get two hoses that will span about 16 feet. So wherever you mount this on your vehicle, you know that you have enough to kind of reach wherever you want it to reach. One will go from the tank to the actual pump itself, and it'll go into the inlet right here. And then on the other side, it says out, and that's where you put the other hose to the sprayer like this, and that's it. I mean, that's just a much easier system. So let's get this thing mounted up. All right, so as far as mounting the tank, you are gonna get a bunch of hardware. You take these flat ones, and these will get mounted right onto the tank itself. You have one for each side. You mount this wherever you want, whether that's a roof rack or whether that's the side of a MOLLE panel or wherever you're gonna put it. And then the tank will just slide right on in like this. And then they give you this lock. So if you have it on the outside, I won't be using this because it's going to be inside the vehicle anyway. But if you have this on the outside and you want to lock it and you don't want anyone to steal it, this just goes right in there like this. When you turn it to lock it, watch, see, now this won't come out at all because that lock is there. This is the port where the water comes out. We're going to screw this wherever we decide to have the outlet. And then you have the caps right here for where you put the water in. So you have one for the front and one at the top. And then you have these caps here for the other two ports that you won't be using. One's going to be for rain collection, and then the other one is for the other outlet that we're not going to use. So first thing I have to do is prep the tank itself. Attach the flat plates to the rear using the provided bolts and red Loctite to keep it secured. Before you tighten it down, just make sure there's enough room for the plates to slide into the brackets smoothly. Now the kit doesn't come with any plumber's tape and it's probably not needed, but I like to add it anyway just to make sure the connection is watertight. Now when adding the caps, do not over tighten them or you'll risk breaking them. Ask me how I know. And finally, I'll just run a fill test to make sure I don't have any leaks anywhere. Now for mounting, you can pretty much put the brackets wherever you'd like as long as the tank will clear the surrounding areas. I opted to use the T-Tracks that runs along the interior sides of my camper. Just don't tighten them down yet as you'll need to make some adjustments to make sure the tank can slide into them easily. So here's the situation that I have been trying to solve. I have the mounts mounted onto the T-Tracks of the camper. I originally wanted it on the bed rail itself because I just feel this is much stronger. However, whenever I put this down there, then the tank sits too low and it bumps into the wheel well here. So it needed to be up here, and it worked fine there, except when I try to slide the tank in, these bolts that hold the camper down are just in the way. If you take a look, they stick out a little bit, and so it gets in the way of the tank basically coming right down perfectly. So I went to the hardware store, bought a couple of things. Like I bought these couplers that I figured would act as spacers, so I can put these on the bolts and bring those mounts far enough to clear the camper bolts. And if that doesn't work, I bought some L brackets. I figured I would put these on the top of the camper. It would kind of sit like that, and then I can have these come out just enough to clear those other bolts, and I would put them out on that. But then I remembered I had these. These were sitting in my closet. These are the Front Runner RTT mounts. Normally you put them on your roof rack like this, and then your rooftop tent sits on top of that. So these are definitely strong enough because they can hold rooftop tents. So essentially what I would do is I would mount these up here like this, which raises it up just a little bit, which is good, so it'll clear that wheel well, and at the same time it'll also clear these bolts. I wish I had the shorter version of this, because in my old rooftop tent I had the shorter ones, so it doesn't go up too much. It's only just like up to here, and that would have been even better, so it doesn't stick out too much like this. But I think it's a good solution. I know a lot of you probably don't need something like this because you're probably not going to be mounting it in a camper like I am. If you are and you don't have these, I mean, you just have to DIY a way to clear these bolts somehow, and that shouldn't be too much of a problem. See, sometimes the solution is right there. You just gotta keep it simple and use stuff that you may not otherwise think of using for that particular application. Alright, take a look. It definitely clears all the bolts now. I do wish that these brackets were much narrower. I wish I had the shorter version of the RTT mounts, but these will do. I think it's going to be just fine because the fridge is going to lay like right here. So I'm utilizing that gap that I had before that was never being used for anything anyway. Now it sits here. Water tank is no longer over there and getting in our way. That just clears up way more room over here for us to stand. So having it over here, fridge will be right here, and I have access to the port right here. So when I'm washing or whatever, it's just right there, right at the entrance of the bed. The Midnight Forest 8-gallon rain flux water tank, and I am loving this setup so much. I think it's just the perfect solution for the build that I'm doing with this camper. And I know some of you may not have the room for an 8-gallon tank in your vehicle. Midnight Forest does have a 4-gallon tank that's a lot more compact, it's a lot smaller, but it still has that slim kind of profile so that it pretty much fits anywhere and it's not going to take up a lot of room. And some of you might still like your roto packs, and some of you might still really like using your water port. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's just a water vessel, and whatever it is that fits your build the best, that's what you should go with. And for me, this is what fits my build. This is exactly the solution I've been looking for. And then when I actually finish building out this platform and drawer system, the fridge is going to end up right here. And with the fridge being right here, I used to have all the space on the side that was kind of unusable because it was too narrow for anything. And I would just drop random stuff in there. But now this Midnight Forest tank is going to take up that unusable space before, and it's out of our way, kind of just discreet over here, and it doesn't get in the way of the window either. Oh, and I don't have to worry about pressurizing this thing with air anymore because everything is electrical. That's just a much better system. No more needing to DIY something. I just have to make sure this thing is fully charged up and ready to go before every trip. And if it does die, well, you can still gravity feed it. Just put the hose on here and you'll have gravity feed for some water that way. And I like that the hose is long enough, it's not coiled up. I can bring it all the way to that side because that's the side where we do our dishes. All the cooking happens over here. All the living stuff underneath the awning happens over here. And what you don't want to do is wash dishes on this side and kind of make the floor all muddy and wet. So I want to keep all the wet stuff on this side. Plus the shower awning is on that side. I can just bring all this to that side. It will reach and we can shower with that without needing to pressurize. Just press the button, water will come down. I don't have to like keep coming back and putting air in the thing. Just so much better all around. Install wise, I did have to go back and forth adjusting these brackets. I needed to make sure that it clears that wheel well down there, and I had to make sure that it can kind of come off and on really easily because the brackets are, you have to have them in just the right spot. So having the Front Runner RTT mount brackets on here allowed me to have some play and then just really get it in there and then tighten everything up. And I really like that Midnight Forest made all the bolts easy to access because sometimes you bolt stuff up and you gotta make sure that it all lines up, and if it doesn't, you gotta move it and you can't really get to the bolts. This, I was able to just keep all the bolts loose, get it on there, and then tighten everything up, and then it's like perfect now. And I did end up using those locks, not really for security purposes. It's more to just keep this thing locked in place. Once you have this filled with water, it's going to be really heavy, so it shouldn't lift off the brackets, and there's enough friction on these brackets for it to not just slide off. But just in case, just as an extra safety measure, if we're hitting the trails and I'm going down some rocks or whatever and we're getting a lot of bumping, I just don't want this to come like flying off the brackets. I really doubt that's going to happen, but again, just a second safety measure. But I am absolutely loving the system. Maybe it's a system that might work out for you also, but I will link to the Waterport DIY pressurizing system that I did a month ago in case you're running a Waterport and you want to go that route. I'll see you in that video. Speaking of shower, I do actually need to shower too.
Does anybody even see me?